I didn't love you when we met. It would be bullshit to say that I did. I wasn't sure how I felt about you, to be completely honest. We hadn't talked much, and that was okay because I was new. Then you talked to me. You talked to me, not the other way around. You asked me for a song to sing, I asked if you knew any Skinner, and you laughed. We laughed. That was the first time I started to figure out how I felt. A couple months passed and we never really talked outside of a few greetings and passing comments. But then it happened again. You talked to me. And again, and again, and 1,000 times more. You talked to me. So then I talked to you and we talked to each other. We'd tease and joke, we'd discuss the future, not our future obviously, that would be psychotic, just the future. We talked about college and you said you were going to miss me when I left. You were going to miss me. I don't think I actually ever said it back. Maybe that's what I did wrong. Sure, I implied it, but I never said the words, I'm going to miss you too. I wanted to, and I planned to, but plans never worked out with us. That's how it started. The end. The end started because I wanted the beginning to turn into something. I wasn't sure what. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I wanted our teasing and laughing and talking about the future to turn into long car rides and late movie nights and deep conversations, so I tried to make it happen. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I asked you to go to the beach with me one night. You said yes. I'd smiled a lot. I never told you how excited I was for that trip. Maybe that's what I did wrong. The day of the trip, I bought everything I needed to make it perfect. I was going to surprise you with a playlist and some thoughtful activities that called back to the conversations that started it all. You told me you couldn't go. I told you I was sad, but you said you would love to go another time, and you reassured me that you weren't blowing me off. You told me that the reason you couldn't go was because you had a presentation to work on. I offered to help you. Maybe that's what I did wrong. You said you wished that there was a way I could help, but it was unlikely. Still though, you said you'd let me know if I could help. We had work together that night. I was sad, but I held on to hope. Maybe that's what I did wrong. It was time for me to clock out. Before I left, I said goodbye to you and reminded you that I'd love to help with your project. You smiled and said you'd let me know if I could help. I got home. I was tired. I hadn't heard from you, but I kept my clothes on, still holding on to hope. Maybe that's what I did wrong. You told me I could come over. I did. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I knocked on the door and you teased me for not just texting you that I had arrived. You took me inside and sat down on the couch. I sat down on a different one. Maybe that's what I did wrong. You ate the rest of your salad from work and we talked for a bit like we had never talked before. We talked like we had known each other for years but still had never known anything about each other. I was happy and I let my guard down. Maybe that's what I did wrong. You started working on your presentation. I sat quietly and offered my advice when you needed it. You got some work done and then you wanted a break. I helped you Christmas shop. You invited me over to your couch and I sat down next to you. Maybe that's what I did wrong. Hours passed. We listened to music and talked some more. You asked for my favorite song and I couldn't pick one, so I pulled up Tinder to see what my anthem was. Maybe that's what I did wrong. You laughed at that. The song was Heat Above by Greta Van Fleet. I knew you wouldn't like it. We teased each other and you introduced me to more of your music. Then the song released. A song that I now know all too well. You got really excited to listen to the song, and I was excited to see you excited, so I agreed to listen. Maybe that's what I did wrong. We listened to the old version. 5 minutes and 27 seconds. We talked over most of it. You gave me the backstory and caught me up so that we could listen to the newest version. I underestimated the power of the next 10 minutes. Maybe that's what I did wrong. You quietly sang the song next to me while scanning the lyrics, looking for any changes to the original. I sat underneath some pillows, soaking in the song. Maybe that's what I did wrong. During one line of the new song that I noticed you liked in the original, I looked up at you. Maybe that's what I did wrong. You were smiling and singing, and you looked back at me. I watched your eyes. I'd never noticed how beautiful they were. Then I noticed how your smile scrunched up your nose and made perfect little dimples appear on your cheeks. I looked away. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I got scared. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I started to fall in love. Maybe that's what I did wrong. The rest of the night was a blur. I remember feeling sick with happiness. You said you had to wake up early for your trip to Georgia. I asked you if you needed me to leave. Maybe that's what I did wrong. You said yes, and I got up to head towards the door. Maybe that's what I did wrong. You got up to open the door and you thanked me for coming. I thanked you for having me, and I said I had a good time. Maybe that's what I did wrong. You stood in the doorway while I walked to my car. We teased each other one last time, and I got into my car. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I texted you when I got home and thanked you again for having me over, but I don't think you ever saw my message. Maybe that's what I did wrong. The next day I woke up. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I felt like shit. I had so many questions and no answers, and I didn't want to move until I saw your face again. So I didn't. I just laid in bed. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I wanted to try to make sense of the previous night. I wanted to know if what I felt was real. So I listened to the song. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I wore the same hoodie that I wore to your house. It smelled like you and I couldn't take it off. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I cried for 3 hours. Maybe that's what I did wrong. You started talking to me again, and I immediately felt normal. It was as if just knowing that you were there in some way made me feel comfortable, and I no longer felt lost. We talked for 2 hours, and I loved every second of it. I told you that I cried because of the song, but I never told you the real reason. Maybe that's what I did wrong. Your drive ended, and so did our conversation. I went back to being lost. I worked that night, and every second was pure, unbridled pain. People asked me questions, and I don't even remember if I answered them or not. I couldn't stop thinking about the night before. I couldn't get your smile out of my head, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to forget it. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I got home and talked to you some more while I smelled my hoodie. I smiled at my phone the whole time, knowing that you were probably doing the same. I ended the conversation. Maybe that's what I did wrong. Nothing was ever the same after that. Nothing. Everything felt worse. You didn't talk to me as much as I talked to you. We stopped laughing as much. I started crying more. I never gave up. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I started drinking again to forget the pain, but it didn't really work. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I got mad at you. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I forgave you. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I told myself that there's a chance. I'd never give up. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I started typing this. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I'm not going to send this to you. I don't want you to see it. Am I doing that wrong too?